Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Macias, and I am the Electric Vehicle Association Secretary. I have been supporting EVA for about the last 3 to 4 years, and in various capacities, but most recently as the secretary. And I'm also the founding member of the Rio Grande Electric Vehicle Association. I'm based here out of El Paso, Texas, and I also have a regional presence in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So plenty to do. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. I really want to thank you for making the time, and also a special shout out to all the people that helped us get here, especially the nomination committee, which you'll get to hear from a little bit later this evening, as well as Aaron and Nick that were working fastidiously in the background to make things happen. I can't tell you probably the hundreds of Slack messages that we exchanged to get here tonight. So thank you so much. A couple of rules for engagement. We will have a timer for our candidates that are presenting today. So please don't be too distracted by the bings and the bongs that you'll hear in the background. One of our panelists or candidates was not able to meet us in person, so we did accept their video so that you can get to meet them. And then last but not least, we will be fielding your questions. So please feel free to send them through the Q&A function of tonight's Zoom session. That way we will collect them. And if you would specify to whom you'd like to present those questions, we will then pose them on your behalf. As time allows, we will go through as many questions as possible, but we are going to try to make sure that everybody gets at least one or two. And then last but not least, oh goodness, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Yes, the timeline for elections. So at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you will get your ballot, and that will be your opportunity to cast your vote. Remember, you can vote for up to 5, you can vote for 1, you can even abstain. I would prefer that you don't abstain because your membership means that you have a choice. So please make sure you cast your ballot. You will get a confirmation once you cast your ballot. Just like election season all over the country right now, you'll get a confirmation of what you voted on. And then in late November, it will be closing out, and then we will announce the new board in December. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Terry, and thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Kirsch. I am the current Vice President at the Electric Vehicle Association National Board. I've held several board positions, and I'm quite an advocate for EVs. I'm on my 4th electric vehicle myself. I am a bit of a glutton, and I am in San Diego, California. I'll let Rebecca introduce yourself.
Thank you, Terry. Good evening, everyone. Rebecca Fisher. I'm here in Long Beach, California, and I'm the board member of the EVA, outgoing, but part of the nomination committee, and really excited for all of you to meet the wonderful candidates we have on Zoom today. Thank you.
So, Jonathan, I'm going to turn it back over to you because our first person, we're going to start out by asking a few questions, but the first person was John Hyam, who could not join us, so he's on video. So, Jonathan, technically, it's yours.
Of course. Stand by, and we will know that this one was done within the 2-minute timeline. So give me 1 second, and I'll switch over to that, and also make sure that the audio is pushing over. Excuse me.
Association. I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. Hello, my name is John Hyam, and I'm running for the Board of Directors of the Electric Vehicle Association. I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. I've worked in aerospace for over 30 years. I recently retired. I worked with the Electric Auto Association before it became the Electric Vehicle Association on the EVA Board of Directors for a number of years, where I was the chair of the Public Policy Committee. I built my first EV. It was a Mazda Miata with my then, I think, 14-year-old son. It was to be his first car. It was his first car. That was our first EV that we worked on together. And since then, I have owned 7 other EVs. Currently in my driveway is Lucid Air, which is my daily driver, and my wife has a Hyundai Ioniq 5. I live in the heart of Silicon Valley.
All right, and I did not truncate the video. That's where John chose to end it in terms of where he lives. Terry?
Yes, sorry, let me turn my video back on. Okay.
Oh, Terry, I think you muted yourself. Terry, are you there still?
Well, this is like what it's like to have
There we
like
go.
Ah,
Okay, now you all can hear me. Can you hear me? You can't see me. There I am. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the next person we'll go to is Joe, and I'd like to turn it over to Joe. The first question we have is if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, highlight where you live, what EV you have, introduce yourself to the membership, and a little bit about yourself for 2 minutes.
Sure. My name is Joe Schultes. I'm actually from Albany, New York. I purchased my first electric vehicle about 1.5 years ago. It's the F-150 Lightning over my shoulder. I have put 32,000 miles on it in less than a year. We go everywhere with this thing, and we have fallen in love with the electric vehicle concept. Once I bought my truck, I ended up creating a regional club for truck owners called the Northeast Lightning Club, which has spawned into the international organization called the Lightning Clubs of America. We have clubs within Canada, all the way across the country from New York all the way to California. And we also are working on trying to start one in Norway, where the Lightning is currently being released, I think, next month. And then Switzerland just got the okay to go too. So I think we'll be growing out there as well. But we're just a car club organization that we've grown from absolute scratch, just recruiting our own members. And I think my skills that I've learned there will actually help the EVA growing. And I'd like to see the EVA grow as much as possible, because this is the future of transportation. And I love that I'm on the forefront of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's ask your second question, and then we'll let you rest easy. What do you see is the board's responsibility to its chapters? 2 minutes, please.
The board's responsibility to its chapters. I think being a supportive organization for the chapters. If I've had some experience here with our Capital District EVA organization. We have asked the EVA board before for some support for our National Drive Electric Week events, and the board really needs to be there for each chapter to continue to maintain its growth, maintain its financial responsibilities, and just be there. So, as a national resource, you want to lean into your board to make them back your small organizations up. There's only so much a certain small organization can do, but the more numbers you have, the stronger your organization becomes. So as a board, I think they really need to support each individual chapter and work on growing more chapters where there aren't any.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to our next candidate, which is Todd. Todd, same questions for you. Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to the membership. Please tell us where you live, what EV you drive, and a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Todd Elvins. I live in San Diego. I'm a member of the San Diego EVA chapter. We have 2 EVs. We have a 2015 Nissan Leaf, and we have a 2022 Tesla Model Y. And let's see. So a little bit about myself. So I started my background in software engineering back in 1988, and I worked at San Diego Supercomputer Center at the UCSD campus for 10 years. Got my PhD while I was there. I managed a multidisciplinary team of artists and scientists and software engineers. Then I went on and had a startup company, for-profit startup company, and I was on the board there, so I have some board experience. And of course, the board was involved in everything, finding a CEO, keeping the company funded, hiring, product, partners, In the third year, I spent a lot of my time trying to figure out how are we going to merge and be acquired. So I was out working on partnerships to try to make that happen. So I have startup experience. My current position is at a chapter-based education-focused nonprofit called Citizens Climate Lobby, Citizens Climate Education. We're a 501c3, C4. I'm the National Actions Director. I publish a monthly action sheet, which goes out to all 400 of our chapters, and I get a lot of help writing that. I also help with trainings. I help with communications. We have about 10,000 active and engaged volunteers. So it's interesting that EVA is also a chapter-based education-focused nonprofit, because I do have experience working there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right on time. We're going to ask you the same question is, how do you see the board's responsibility to its chapters for support?
Well, I hadn't thought too much about that question, but I would think that monthly guidance like we do at CCL is a good idea. We do communicate constantly with our chapters, providing guidance, materials, things that we think that you should be doing this month. We do ask our chapters to write a monthly, a plan for the year. It's a strategic plan where they are going to say things like, here are the things that we want to get done in the next 12 months, and here are the numbers of meetings that we're going to have with members of Congress, and here are the number of tabling events that we're going to have, and the number of presentations that we're going to give. The board should also, I think, provide materials, presentations that the chapters can use in their education. I am real interested in media as well. I think that the board could provide training on social media and media, how to write letters to the editor, how to respond to disinformation that they see in the media by perhaps writing op-eds and letters to the editor. Those are the main things that I can think of where the board can support the chapters. Making sure that the chapter leaders get together as frequently as possible and get to talk about the problems that they're having, and the board should support all the chapter presidents and answer their questions and help them get over any hurdles they're having. I'm real interested in membership as well. That's something that I think all nonprofits struggle with, is getting your members to show up, making sure they're engaged, making sure they're doing something between the monthly meetings. And I'm super interested in how we can boost our membership and get everyone to commit and do what they say they're going to do.
Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, Josh Hazel, we'll go with you next. Again, these are all random. I'm not just picking them myself. So Josh, please let everybody know, introduce yourself to the membership. We'd like to know where you live and tell us about the EVU drive, and let us get to know you.
Okay. Hey, good evening, everyone. So Josh Hazel, I live in South Mississippi. I currently drive a 22 Tesla Model S Plaid. It's my second Tesla. I started down the EV path in 2017 with a Model S Performance back then. And I'm an auto enthusiast and really enjoy the electric vehicles. My background is in technology. Worked for JP Morgan Chase in technology, and currently in healthcare technology for the last decade or so. And so technology, the fusion of automobiles and technology, the fusion of those two, it just clicked with me. So that's what got me into electric vehicles, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them since. Co-founded an organization here in the state of Mississippi called EV Mississippi, and then founded the Tesla Owners Club of Mississippi. So that's kind of the path we've taken with the electric vehicles here. And we show up at car shows, and we have electric only car shows throughout the state, several per year. And then we attend regular car shows. We have one of the largest car shows in the country, or the largest car show in the country, that happens once a year here on the coast. And we we have a good EV presence at that show. Over 10,000 vehicles attend that show, and we have a good EV presence there as well. So taking cars with technology to places where car people are is kind of our stick.
Thank you. Okay, great. Now let's ask you the same question. How do you see the board's responsibility, or what do you see the board's responsibilities to the chapters?
Sure, and I appreciate Joe and Todd going first and getting all the answers out there. But I think they're right. Be a resource is probably one of the biggest things. Be a resource for the chapters. Chapter growth obviously is important, but being a resource to those chapters, providing preferably a one-stop shop place where you can get accurate information and help with the misinformation that's out there, but be a good source of information. What Todd was saying about guidance is also accurate. Give guidance on how to grow your local membership, how to get the word out on EVs, what you can do, how you can set up events, any kind of hurdles that you have with setting up events, right down to event insurance and things of that nature. What do those processes and steps look like? How can you, accountability? What do you do at the events, promoting the electric vehicles and test drives and things of that nature? So just overall being a resource to the chapters and helping them with whatever their needs are to grow in their market, recognizing that each market's going to be different. Our market in South Mississippi is significantly different than Southern California, I promise. So, we're going to have different needs for our area to grow that EV awareness than a lot of other places do. So just kind of recognizing that and tailoring resources to the chapters at the different location.
Okay, thank you. We had lost our timer and now it's back, but I think that was great. Thank you so much. Okay, so next, Heyman, we're going to go with you. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you?
Yes, you're great. Thank you. So please introduce yourself to the membership. Let us know what you drive and where you live, a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
Thanks.
So thank you everyone for the time. My name is Heyman Fadness. I drive a Tesla Model 3. This is, I think, my 4th or 5th EV. I've been in the EV industry. I work in the EV industry. I live in San Diego currently. For the past 4 or 5 years, I've been working in the electric vehicle space in multiple areas. First, I was working to build level 2 charging workplace business models for a nonprofit. Second, I've been working with government agencies and entities from the state of Oregon and the state of California. So I have a perspective of how they think and how they develop incentives. I was also indirectly part of the team that helped craft that NEVI funding, the guidance there. So I have a perspective from the consumer side as a user, perspective from the government side. I have also spent the past 3 years working for Rivian Automotive as the OEM. My first electric pickup truck was unit number 145 off the assembly line. I was building charging stations across the West Coast from Seattle, Washington, down through to New Mexico. So I know the OEM perspective on charging. I also know the OEM perspective on product development. In addition, I'm currently on the board of a couple of nonprofits already, and our job is very similar to that of the Electric Vehicle Association. It's advocacy, education, and action to develop and turn around marketplaces and develop markets. One of the boards that I'm currently on is on sustainability, where we're taking this little restaurant takeout container is made entirely of paper and seaweed coated, and it decomposes in a compost bin like a piece of fruit. So we are a nonprofit trying to advocate for that. And I'm also on the board, San Diego board of the Park Society.
Thank you, Heyman. That concludes your 2 minutes.
Perfect. Okay.
If you'd like to go on, we can cut your other question a little bit shorter.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay, cool. Very good. So you too, what do you think is the responsibility of the board, the Electric Vehicle Association Board, to its chapters around the nation?
So I think all the responses previously have been fantastic. However, I would say I go one step beyond that. Those are all great strategies, but we need to have an objective. And the role of the board is really to create the sort of value add to its members and to the consumers, to its stakeholders. So we have to be the ones that help create a value add. That means we have to focus on the objective. The objective here that I see is that we have a tremendous opportunity to work on turning around the impressions of electric vehicles that, hey, that they're too expensive, whatever it is in the marketplace that is causing some sort of downturn in sales and used car sales. So we have an opportunity to engage the public and stakeholders and partner with OEMs to turn around this impression. That's what the board can do. The board can work with all of our affiliates to create value-added services for our stakeholders and also address market issues that will grow and achieve the overall objective of all of us that we want, which is a 100% EV world, or at least a GHG free world as well. So I think that's our objective, and that's what we have to focus on as a board. We have to constantly focus on that broader objective: markets, GHGs, and turning this around to achieve that 100%. And we can do that by those strategies that have already been advised. And that's what we did even in our compost nonprofit, which is we have to get out. We have a social network plan. We've executed on it. We have blogs. We go out on LinkedIn. And as a result, we've grown our membership out across the country and overseas. We can do the same thing here. But again, the role of the board is the future, right? And it's about achieving the overall market and our overall objectives. And I think the EV Association can do that.
Thank you, Heyman. And I'm just going to chime in and just remind everybody before we go to the next candidate that if you have any questions that have been prompted as part of this session, you're welcome to send it to the Q&A, and we'll be sure to start logging it so that we can present it and keep us on good time this evening. Also, a quick reminder that this year, we did do some of the preliminary screening in order to bring you a slate of people that aligned very well with the 6 areas that we were looking for support. So you are seeing folks that have already been pre-screened by the nomination committee, and that's why we're having more of a abbreviated discussion. And then of course you'll be able to play it back since this is being recorded if you wanted to see it a second time, or for those of you that are joining in the playback mode after the fact. Terry?
Thank you, Jonathan. Good reminder. Okay, let's continue on. We are now going to call upon Elaine Borsett. Elaine, tell us about introduce yourself to the membership, which they probably know you, but highlight, please, where you live and the EV that you currently drive, and tell us about yourself.
Great. Thanks, Terry. Thanks for everybody for joining us. So yes, I'm Elaine Borsett, and I grew up in Detroit, and I live in near San Diego in Cardiff. So I got my first EV, ordered it back in 2014, and got a performance Tesla Model S in 2015. And I currently drive a 2022 Model S that I love. And got my start, just I didn't know anything about electric vehicles when I got my first one, and just fell in love immediately, and got involved with the San Diego EVA, and it just kind of went from there.
Thank you, Elaine. So same question to you. What do you think the responsibility of the board is to our chapters?
Yeah, I think, the board's responsibility is definitely to support our chapters. Our chapters are the boots on the ground, as we often say. And, I think we've done a good job of that, but I think there's so much more that we can do. We currently do, we try to do monthly to quarterly leadership Zooms where we worked on getting sponsorship money that we were able to push out to the chapters, but we need to do more of that. And I think the responsibility of the board is just to help those chapters do more of what we're already doing and do it better. You know, and I think a lot of the comments that we've already gotten, you know, to help our chapters with media training and, you know, what's the best way to do an op-ed, you know, all of those things are just vitally important to, you know, keeping the EV movement going. You know, as we've seen, there's a lot of opposition right now. You know, there's starting to be almost a little bit of a backlash, and we really need to step up and counter that and be that voice of reason. You know, as we all know, it's once you get somebody to where they understand the facts and you get them behind the wheel, you know, it's easy peasy, but you have to get that step going. So I think that's really what we need to do, and we need to get the word out.
Thank you, Elaine. I'm going to finish up with Eric. But before I do that, I want everybody to know if you do have you want more information about the candidates in the election buddy, there is their candidate statement. So you can all go and read that as well. I know when I do this stuff, I sometimes forget who's who. So make sure that when you do go to your election to vote, to read those candidate statements. They're very helpful. So Eric, let's see, let's have you introduce yourself. Tell us where you live and a little bit about yourself, and tell us what EV that you drive.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate this opportunity. My name is Eric Lundeen. I live here in Colorado, about an hour south of Denver. Just north of Colorado Springs, for those of you who are familiar with the state. I currently am driving a Ford Mach-E, which is a lot of fun, and have been enjoying that. I've had that for almost 2 years now. So I also, through work, have a Chevy Silverado on order that I'm supposed to be taking delivery of first part of next year sometime. So that'll be fun to jump into the truck space. Not as cool as the Lightning, like Joe has, but I'll take what I can get. I currently work in the EV space for an electric utility here in Colorado that serves Southern Colorado. We also serve Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Rapid City, South Dakota, and the Black Hills area. I'm the electric vehicle program manager for the company. So very much what EVA and the chapters do on a daily basis, that's my world. Trying to get everybody to adopt as much EVs as possible. So involved in a lot of different facets through my work, and get to meet a lot of really interesting people, and yeah, really, really excited about this.
Very good. Thank you so much. And lastly, for you, tell us what you think the responsibility is for the board to their chapters and the chapters and their members.
Well, I think the advantage of going last is all the answers have already been taken. I think everybody had some really great responses, and I would just chime in and say that, yeah, I think, you know, providing support to the local chapters is a major part, you know, providing the leadership that they need for the events that they're holding, whatever that may look like, whatever obstacles they may be coming against, you know, bringing our expertise into that space to help them navigate that. As a board, leading by example, you know, of what a good, strong, quality leadership looks like, I think is a big part of it too. And I really like what Joe said as far as, you know, really looking for those gaps. Where are those opportunities for starting up new chapters, and how do we identify stakeholders in those areas and those communities, and you know, to help them provide the guidance for them and what they need to create their own chapters. So.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the candidates here. We are going to turn this back over to Jonathan for a second, because there was a second half of John's video that when it got cut off that we're supposed to play. So Jonathan, it's all yours.
Stand by. We'll bring back John, and he'll be providing the answer. Now's a good time for you to submit those questions. We're already getting some of the other questions coming in, and then that way we can post them.
Hi. One of the questions that was asked of me to help introduce me as a candidate was to describe what I think the board of directors' responsibility is to each of the chapters. So one of the things that I would like to do with the EVA is to emphasize public policy and what I'd like to refer to as charging equity, or even charging inequity. It's not lost on me that as a homeowner, I can plug in my car where I sleep and what that means to the EV ownership experience. So I'd like to tell a little story about what I mean about charging inequity. And this is about my adult daughter and her husband. They are both college educated and have meaningful jobs, well-paying jobs. And they also live in the heart of Silicon Valley, within walking distance of the Googleplex, short drive to Apple headquarters, world headquarters, Facebook world headquarters. They wanted to buy an EV, but there was no place to charge where they lived in their condo that they had rented. So they worked with the board of the homeowners association to put in charging, and the homeowners association learned that it was going to be $1 million to put in charging for everybody in the complex, and they would not do that. So then my daughter and her husband looked at putting in a charger in just their spot that was leased as part of their leased condo. And that was going to be more than a new Chevy Bolt. And so they really couldn't justify that in a rental. And so what did they do? They kept driving their gas cars. And unfortunately, even though they wanted to go electric, they could not. And that's the choice that the over 50% of the people in the US have to make, is that they're not good. If you can't charge where you sleep, you're not a good candidate for an EV, and people just aren't going to make the switch. How I would like the board of directors to work with each of the chapters is that the board of directors makes up a national framework for EV charging equity, and work with each of the chapters to help promote the best policies and work with local officials to implement policy changes that would help incentivize developers and owners of apartment buildings, landlords, to put in charging infrastructures. Look for opportunities for grants. Look for opportunities to help it change building codes and that sort of thing.
All right, so you probably heard John's timer go off in his background. So he took 1 minute for his intro and then 3 to answer the second question. So thank you so much. We did get one question that came in that they wanted to pose. Rebecca, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. They wanted to pose it to all the candidates, and then it looks like we're also fielding a couple of other ones. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca to ask a portion of those questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. You only stole like a portion of the thunder. I can still voice the question. It's all good. So this is for all of our wonderful candidates today. Bill put in the Q&A section, what would you do about a chapter that has become inactive? And he gave this example that he's new to the association, but the chapter in his area has been inactive for quite some time. What unique ways, normal ways, cool ways would you try and re-engage a chapter that has gone kind of silent? And why don't we go in a kind of a reverse order? So maybe Eric, maybe we start with you on this one.
Yes, and I think we'll
Okay.
go and give it a minute so we can give an opportunity for more questions.
Perfect. I think the biggest thing is we probably need to start with a little bit of research, maybe try and find out what led to the inactivity. Was there something that happened within the chapter? There could be a lot of different reasons as to what happened. So I think really that's where it starts, is really understanding, kind of what went wrong, if you will. And then, working to identify, who's still around, who's still active, who's still involved or interested. you know, and working together to kind of see what can we do to put this chapter back together again. And so, yeah, just kind of at a real high level, not understanding maybe what the reasons are, but that would be my answer.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Heyman, over to you for an answer to this one.
So yes, I would build on Eric's response, which is getting to the root cause of why that chapter did slow down and stop, whether it was a gradual one or whether it was sudden. And also to look at the area in which it operates to determine, is there a market for EVs, and was it the result of the overall marketplace and the consumers? Was there, and also the way I would look at trying to change things is looking at the city and state climate action plans, because that really drives a lot of those incentives. It really drives a lot of where those cities are going with electric vehicles. And yeah, I would reach out to those AHJs, those cities and city councils, and get a determination. What exactly they see their direction for GHG reductions, for electric vehicle support. Mm-hmm. And then you have a very clear idea of the viability of a new chapter out there.
Great. Thank you so much. Elaine, sorry, we'll actually go in reverse order now, but skipped over you initially. Elaine, over to you.
No worries. Yeah, this is a tough one, you know, because this definitely happens. And what we find is that with so many chapters, you have key people. And when those key people leave, if you don't have someone that's willing to step up, you know, it's just hard. And we've tried things in the past, like, you know, emailing everybody in that area to see if anybody wants to step up. And typically, you know, it's kind of crickets. So I'm really glad to see so many different faces here. Like, you know, I think reaching out to different car clubs, now that there are more and more EV car clubs, like the lightning clubs, et cetera, you know, if we can find someone that's already into EVs and in, you know, in a certain area, those would be good people to tap, and climate groups too. But it is a tough problem.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Elaine. Now, Josh, over to you. Same question.
All right, thanks. So I think, Bill, you've done the first thing is getting involved. So I think that's the biggest thing, is get involved. And even if you're an army of one for a brief period of time, but go to events, show up, join car clubs. That's always a great way to get enthusiasm built up. But you know, go to regular car shows, not just electric vehicle, because I promise you, if you go to a regular car show and you show up in your electric vehicle and pop the hood with the rest of the cars, you will draw a crowd, and that's how you create that interest and draw folks in. And then going back to our first question with the EVA Association, I think this would be one of those support mechanisms that would be needed. So, you know, Bill could reach out to the EVA organization, the board, and ask for more information and resources and help, you know, identifying people, identifying resources in your particular area to kind of revitalize that chapter.
Great. Thank you, Josh. All right, Todd, over to you.
Yeah, in my day job at CCL, we've had this problem. Before COVID, we were up to almost 500 chapters. After COVID, we're down to about 400 chapters. And so it's a hard problem. And we've done a bunch of different things. We've asked our state coordinator to step in as the chapter leader, chapter president, and to get the chapter up and running again. We've also tried hosting a chapter start workshop, where we invite all the members and everyone we can find in the community to get together and learn about our organization and what chapters do. And then as part of that meeting, we try to find new leadership for the chapter to get the chapter up and running again. We've also merged chapters so that we have a statewide chapter, and we get the chapters in the state up and running that way. And then eventually we might break them up again into individual chapters. but one trick is you got to personally contact all the members by telephone.
Right. Thank you, Todd. And Joe, you'll round us out on this first question. Over to you.
I appreciate me not going first this time. So that's actually a lot of the other candidates here have already said it. We got to identify what exactly went wrong. You also have to identify how the organization was running, how the chapter was running prior to this breakdown. You got to, as the my previous board member here said, or board candidate said, you got to reach out to them face to face. So a Zoom meeting like this would actually be a really good tool to get everybody face to face, sending out an email. Hey, listen, we understand you guys fell apart. We're here to help, and offer almost like a guidance for anyone that wants to step up and start running this organization. That's the backbone of the board is to give support in any way that these chapters need. And that's a huge void that needs to be assisted and filled. So again, a face-to-face Zoom meeting like this would be my best recommendation.
Perfect. Great. Thank you all so much. And we had another great question in the chat come through from an anonymous attendee, and I'll go ahead and read it out. And maybe Elaine, we'll start with you on this one. And depending on how much time we have left, we may open it up for everyone, but I might just pick and choose a few folks to answer this one. But the question is, how do you feel about engaging with businesses and other leaders to encourage support of the EVA as an organization or EVA events and initiatives? So it's really about the engagement of businesses, and I'm guessing when they say leaders, perhaps decision makers and policy makers. So Elaine, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, this is a big one. I mean, we love engaging with businesses. We just in the past few years have reached out to businesses to get them to become an EVA member, an EVA business member. So that gets them an article in our blog and helps them reach EV curious and EV owners, EV enthusiasts, et cetera. But no, that's like a number one goal to reach out not only to businesses, but other organizations. We work with a lot of organizations in the Clean Vehicle Coalition. So, there is strength in numbers. So we're all about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Elaine. And I think we have time to go through everyone again. We're about 15 minutes before we wanted to end, I believe. And so I'm just going to bop around at random. Eric, would you like to talk a bit about how you see perhaps the EVA engaging business leaders or decision makers? And you can kind of take this wherever you want to go. I think it'd be nice to get some diversity in how you interpret the question as well.
Yeah, I think, building strategic partnerships with leaders in our community, businesses, as far as whether it's a location for hosting events, supporting events, sponsoring events, different things like that, I think is key. It's a lot of what I'm doing right now in my space as far as identifying who are those, what are those relationships and how can we leverage those to get that message out there. Even working with community-based organizations, I think is huge. They're in the space working with different people in their communities and, being able to partner with them. I kind of like what I think Elaine said, this is a pretty big issue. So, and I don't know, do we get into the lobbying space? Is that something that we throw out there too? Who knows?
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. It is a good question. We'll keep going. Joe, I'd love to go to you next to answer this question. Over to you.
Absolutely. So I think there's three other fields that we need to pay attention to, not just our members, but we want to partner with our leadership in the government. They're obviously going to be the policymakers. They're going to be where the incentives are going to be coming from. We want to partner with not just car dealers. We're dealing with electric cars. Some OEMs don't have dealerships, but a lot of them do. And there's a lot of opportunity for education, not just for the dealership, but for their customers as well. And thirdly, EV charging companies. I actually have an EV charging company right in my backyard in Schenectady, New York, called Livingston Energy. They are huge proponents for the EV space, and working with them and their national connections will actually further our cause. So I think those are the three spots we need to look at.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. And
Thank you.
just to switch things up a bit, we have another question that came in. So I'm going to go through the rest of the three of you with this new question, keeping you on your toes, which I really love how you framed this, whoever posed the question. We all have been there, that guy that comes up to you wherever that insists that EVs are too expensive, they don't go far enough, they'll never get one because it's just not what's going to be the future technology. How do you or don't you engage in that guy's conversation? And feel free to use examples from conversations you've had in the past or ideal scenarios. So Todd, I think we'll go to you first to answer this question about what do we say to that guy who comes up to us. So Todd, over to you.
Yeah, sorry, Rebecca. I was looking at the other question about reaching out to underserved communities, and I was fascinated about that one. But yeah, so EVs are not too expensive. It's all about education, and I think Elaine mentioned all the disinformation that we're starting to see out there, and what a disaster it is, and how we need one of the tasks that we need to focus on is education and objection blunting. And get out there and write op-eds and LTEs and meet with people and educate people and give slideshows and test drives and do tabling and all those things to educate people, to let them know that EVs are not too expensive and they do go far enough, and everybody should get one. They're more fun to drive, and as you all know, and everybody should get one.
Awesome. I love it. I've been there before. Josh, why don't we turn this one to you? Really curious what you have to say in your experience.
Okay, yeah, so absolutely, that's not an uncommon question or series of questions that get asked. I think the point Todd made about education, I think that's it. It's all about education with facts, and invite them to an event. If you can get them in an electric vehicle for a test drive, I think all the other conversations are a lot easier after that. So if you can just get them to an event and get them behind the wheel of an electric vehicle, those other conversations are a lot easier to have. And there's a lot of folks, especially again, South Mississippi, we're in oil country. It's definitely a tough sell for electric vehicles, and having those counterpoints come up regularly is not uncommon. So I think have them out to an event, and don't be aggressive with your counterpoints, but be reasonable and get them behind the wheel.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Josh. Seeing is believing in many cases. Before we go to that great question around addressing the needs of underserved communities within the EVA, I want to turn it really quickly to Terry, who will voice a quick answer to one of the questions that was in the chat, just so everyone's aware of our plan. Terry, over to you.
Yes, just so you all know, there were 18 nominees. Of those 18, we narrowed it down to 7 that after the interviews, we interviewed them all. The 7 you're seeing here are amazing. They will be on the slate. There are 11 board positions and 5 are open. So of the 11, we have 5 open slots and 7 candidates. These are the ones we thought no matter who the association picked would be fabulous. So I do appreciate the comment that we said that they wish they could vote for all of you. So thank you so much. Back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Terry. That was, yeah, I completely agree that we have such a great slate of folks on the call today. And Heyman, don't worry, I didn't forget about you. We'll round out that last question with your response to engaging with that guy, and then we'll go to the underserved communities question. So over to you.
So in my career, I built software, and I have found that my greatest critics can be my best friends. And it all comes down to a mindset. So you really have to listen to what they're saying and try and respond to an answer that really is specific to them. I mean, when I was driving my Rivian, I used to have folks who would say, oh yeah, you know, it's good, it's too expensive, but I really wouldn't buy an electric pickup truck for these reasons above. And I would have to ask them, what are the reasons? And then, yeah, I would take them for a drive, but I would address their specific reasons of what their challenges were. So I'd take them in there, and then, hey, they thought it was slower, and then we do an acceleration test, or we'd tow something or whatever. So, so I was able to convince at least a few of them from being EV agnostic or negative to even putting themselves on a wait list for a review. But more importantly, and I think there was some question about what role would you have? There was the first question that you had. There was something that. Oh, sorry, missed that. So.
It's all good. It's all good. Thank you so much for that response, Eamon, and sorry to cut you off, but we're coming towards the end of our time together, and there are two more great questions left, and I'd love to just do a really quick round of questions, and then we will end with a final question at the end. So I would like to combine these two questions together. So the first one is, how would you address the emphasis of reaching out to and connecting with underserved communities, either in your current work with EVA or as a board member? And then there's another question that talks about how young adults are one of the largest groups of EV curious, but they make up a minority of EVA members. And kind of, how do you think the EVA could help and get more younger members and have them carry the torch? So I'd love for us to maybe combine those two and do some real quick. Jonathan, can we do 45 seconds, 30-second answers from folks so we have time for a final question at the end?
Let's do it. I'll be your Vanna.
Awesome. All right. Awesome. Eric, why don't we start with you again to see how you smush these two together? Very, very important questions. Over to you.
Yeah, these are great questions. Honestly, the underserved, communities, that's something that we're working in right now. Our service territory in Colorado, depending on how you map it out, is vast. The vast majority of it is a disproportionately impacted community. Really educated is a big thing. Letting them understand this is not a knock against Teslas, but there's more than just Teslas out there on the road for EVs. So, letting them see the approachable, ability, the entry level, it is easy to get into them. And then the young adults, one thing that's always kind of hit me is driving schools. Why are we not partnering with driving schools to get EVs out there so that kids are learning, as they're learning to drive in an EV? I would love to see some work in that area. So I think that puts me at time.
Yeah, that's great. I love that idea too. Joe, why don't we go over to you next? Go ahead.
So the underserved communities, I think really, as he previously just said, education and knowledge of the market is really where that's going to come in. Used EVs are starting to come up in the market a lot more frequently than they used to. And there are affordable base entry vehicles right off the manufacturing lines that are available as well. In regards to the younger members, social media is a huge tool. It's not only are you able to reach as many as possible, but you're also able to engage them and convince them to come out to face-to-face meets and such to grow your chapter.
Great. Awesome. Perfect timing. All right, Heyman, why don't we go over to you next to answer this great pair of questions? Over to you.
So I have experience in working with underserved communities. One of the things we had done, and I had been I was part of the team that money talks in underserved communities. That's why that's a key item. So we worked with the state of Oregon to roll out a EV incentive program for used EVs. So when you, as a low-income consumer, you wanted to buy a used electric vehicle, you get a check for $500 on the spot to help you pay for it, or through charging. And we can be advocates to do something like that nationwide and work with state governments to do that. Second, on the question regarding minorities, EVA members or young adults, We did studies on that too. There are two large sections of EV drivers. One are the upper income, and then there's the lower income, I should say, middle income folks who live in multi-unit dwellings, have difficulty setting up multi-unit dwelling charging. One solution is workplace charging, and to say, hey, this is something we can sponsor or help kind of advocate for. And if you join our
Thank you,
community,
Heyman. Yeah, I'm just going to cut you off there just because we went over time, but love that final point on workplace charging, 100%. Todd, why don't we go over to you next?
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different perspective. I think that you can't really effectively reach out to an underserved community or any community unless you have a member of that community in your chapter. And in my day job, we've put a huge amount of work into recruiting, for example, conservatives, young people, BIPOC folks, to be members of our chapters, because that makes our chapters stronger and it enables them to reach out to all the communities in the area.
Great. Love that. Thank you, Todd. Josh, over to you on this one.
Yep, I think Todd's answer was great. Building a diverse member base is probably one of the most important parts of being able to reach a wider audience, whether it be in underserved communities or younger audience, or, you know, any audience. So any community out there, I think that's critical. And then education and awareness.
Great. Thank you, Josh. And Elaine, I think you're our last one. You'll round us out on this question.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, I mean, education, again, is just the key. I think, you know, we do a lot of these events in San Diego, and when we're in an underserved community, we make sure that we have all of the information. You know, San Diego had a $5,000 grant program that was good for a used or a new EV. You know, there's a new Cash for Cars program that's starting. You know, and just even taking used cars in the lower price range, et cetera. So, you know, you don't have, you know, all the Model S's and the Rivians at that event. You know, you have the Leafs and the Bolts and, you know, things like that community is looking for, and we'll be able to really work well for them. And again, it always boils down to education. So talking to them about total cost of ownership, that type of thing.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. And thank you to both of the folks who asked those two final questions. I love them. And it gives us enough time for an extra speedy round here at the end of our time together. And I thought we'd end on a fun, really like easy to answer question, which is, what is your favorite benefit of driving EV? And again, we'll do real quick. Jonathan, are we thinking 30 seconds?
I mean,
Yeah?
I think we want to let people get to their dinner. So let's talk in 20 seconds or less.
20 seconds.
In 3 words or less, what is your favorite thing of driving your electric vehicle?
Okay. Awesome. Josh, we will start with you. Over to you.
A full tank every day.
Love it. Heyman, over. Oh, yeah. Heyman, over to you next.
No oil changes.
All right. You guys are so fast. Elaine, over to you.
The need for speed.
I love it. Eric, next.
I was going to say the same thing, performance. I mean, they're fun.
Yeah, that torque. Todd, over to you.
Yeah, no stinky gas stations, no stinky exhaust, and a nice quiet ride.
Love it. And Joe, you'll round us out as you started us.
The utility and the performance. My truck's able to tow my 10,000-pound camper, so that's my big hoorah for it.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah, I love it. And I hope everyone who joined had a great time meeting our candidates. And thank you guys for being down to answer these speedy questions. Jonathan, I'm going to pass it off to you to close us out. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you so much, Terry. And you know, on behalf of the nomination committee, which was assembled by the three of us, we really appreciate you taking the time to spend your evening with us. And again, a special thank you to Aaron and Nick in the background that was helping us so much. A couple of key things that I just wanted to share again. If you didn't already see it, Aaron posted the link to the candidate's background that you'll be able to see right after this convening. So you can see a little bit more about what they submitted in writing, and that is already live. And then you will start being able to see your actual ballot coming through. Remember, you are allowed to vote for all 5 in your ballot, or if you just want to vote for one, that's fine too. I prefer that you don't abstain because we work very hard to bring you a very qualified slate. And then last but not least, the elections will run through November 30th. So get all of your prep done, and when you're in your comatose turkey after days, you can go ahead and make sure you submit it, or why not just get it done beforehand? So that's pretty much it. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, and we will connect with you in December once we present to you the outcome of the elections. Thank you so much.